talk about medicinal plants.
Medicinal plants are plants that are used as natural medicines. So when you hear medicinal plants, think of medicine. Medicinal plants have been around since prehistoric times and were discovered through a very brave experience of trial and error, which often went either way. As opposed to today, where anthropologists, pharmaceutical chemists, and physicians work together in order to determine the plant's use depending on its properties. There are three ways in which plants have been found useful in medicine. First, they may be used directly as teas or in other extracted forms. Second, they may be used as agents in the synthesis of drugs, or drugs produced in laboratories through chemical reactions. Or finally, the organic molecules found in plants may be used as models for synthetic drugs. Thousands of medicinal plants exist. However, for the purpose of this video, we will only be discussing two very common medicinal plants, marijuana and aloe. First, let's talk about marijuana. First and foremost, marijuana is also referred to as cannabis, hemp, Indian hemp, pot, and weed. So for any of you kids researching marijuana, for educational purposes of course, it is important not to allow yourself to become confused. Marijuana is believed to be a native plant of India that originated in a region just north of the Himalayas, but is now found all over the world in temperate regions and can easily be grown indoors. Marijuana is a drug that has been around for a very long time. Its first record was recorded from the Chinese Emperor Shenyang in 2727 BC. It was common for the ancient Greeks and Romans, and later spread throughout the Islamic Empire to North Africa in 1545, where it then spread to the Western Hemisphere. Marijuana was legal in the States until the 1970s, where it was then classified as a hard drug because it can cause problems with memory, learning abilities, coordination, heart rate, and distorted perceptions. However, besides these negative effects from recreational use, marijuana can be used to help treat cancer, glaucoma, HIV and AIDS, muscle spasms, seizures, severe pain and nausea, and wasting syndrome. Marijuana fits into the category called cannabinoids, which are a class of diverse chemical compounds that act on cannabinoid receptors on cells that repress neurotransmitter release in the brain. I understand this may sound confusing right now, but just give me a moment to explain. First, I would like to tell you that the most common cannabinoid, which are those chemical compounds that act on the brain thing I was talking about earlier, is found in marijuana, and it is called THC, also known as delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol. In marijuana, THC is found everywhere, but varies in concentration, depending on the strain and the part of the marijuana plant used. Some heavier concentrations are found in the buds and the trichomes, and these trichomes are these small hairs or other outer growth forms that forms on the epidermis of the plant. This THC is the chemical most often associated with the effects marijuana has on the brain. So, THC enters the body through the bloodstream, which you obtain through consuming it or inhaling it. You can eat food or drink teas with marijuana in them, or you can smoke it and eventually marijuana will find its way to the brain. Immediately when THC reaches the brain, it influences it. THC can mimic or block actions of neurotransmitters. Now, in order to understand neurotransmitters, you must understand what a neuron is. A neuron is a cell that processes information in the brain. So, a neuron transmitter is a chemical that allows neurons to communicate. When foreign chemicals are introduced, like this THC, these chemicals can mimic or block actions of neurotransmitters and interfere with its normal functions. So, by blocking actions of the neurotransmitters, the basal ganglia, hippocampus, and cerebellum cannot carry out their specific function. The basal ganglia controls motor movement, procedural learning, and habits. The hippocampus is an organ that controls memory, and the cerebellum contributes to precision, coordination, and accurate timing. The marijuana plant has evolved over time, and most notably in laboratories in order to promote its recreational use by increasing the levels of THC found in the plant. However, it is important to note that not all medicinal plants influence the brain. Let's move on to discuss our second plant, aloe.
Next, let's talk about aloe. Aloe originated in the hot and arid climate of northern Africa. Now, however, it can be found in a bunch of places because it has been transported by humans by means of boat or plane. These places include the American Southwest, the Arabian Peninsula, and the Canary Islands. Wow! It can also be grown inside the home just about anywhere in the world. I have one on my kitchen counter. It can be used to treat burns, irritated or inflamed skin, and tender wounds, and reduces swelling. Would you like some aloe for that?
I would love to have some aloe for that.
Aloe leaves, I guess you could call them that, have a very interesting structure. The outside consists of a waxy outer leaf pulp, which keeps the water in. The middle layer is called the green rind. That's where all the chloroplasts are, and therefore that's where photosynthesis takes place. Lastly, the inner layer is where all the good stuff is. The inner leaf pulp is where the cells are located that actually store the aloe gel. This is why you have to cut the leaves in half in order to access the gel. Okay, everyone, to make this clear, here is a map of where all the medicinal drugs we discussed today are located in the world. However, I would like to make something clear. You should note that you have a biology test on Thursday, and the use of recreational drugs could potentially influence your ability on the test.